right.
Hi, it's Dina with the Realize Foundation, and I'm here today with Corrine, who is written in all three books. So I'm excited to catch up with you, Corrine, and see um, if you tell everybody what this chapter is about in volume three.
So this time I'm writing about really being afraid to do something different or something new, but being afraid and going through that and doing it anyway. Because, I have often or said that I like to live my life without any regrets. In other words, I don't really want to be able to get to a point where I say, I wonder what would have happened if. So if I have an idea or a thought and I feel like my life should go in a different direction than it's going, then I feel the need to pursue that. As much as it scares the mess out of me, I still want to do it. So I'll go for it. So I wanted to kind of illustrate that in this chapter. I talk about what I've done in the past and what I'm planning to do. And really it's around helping my whole career has been about service, serving others in one way or another. In the meetings and events industry, that's really what I was doing. I was serving my clients by producing their events, going in most cases from concept to execution. And but I during the pandemic, I felt called to help others who decided to take this journey of entrepreneurship and help them grow their businesses, avoiding some of the mistakes I made growing my own, and I made lots of them. So I want to help other people avoid some of those, and I started doing some of it during the pandemic. And I have to tell you, every time I did something, I did a session, I really just felt like I'd won the lottery. So I feel, I know that this is something that I should be doing. So I am like all over that. However, it is like, oh my God, it's like starting a whole brand new business all over again. And it is scary. Entrepreneurship can be very scary. However, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. So I wanted to kind of go through that exercise in this particular chapter in the hopes that somebody out there, if they're thinking, I want to do this so badly, but I'm afraid of
Mhm.
this, I'm afraid of what people might say, I'm afraid of that, whatever the fear is, I think it's important to just work through that fear. Be afraid. It's okay to be afraid. It's not okay to not do what your heart is telling you to do. So that's really what it is.
That's very true, and I think one thing um, that might be instilling fear in people that you did mention is leaving a stable income to do it. You know.
Yes, because I certainly did that when I started my first business, which I've had for about 19 years now. I definitely walked away from a very stable,
Mhm.
really good salary to do that. And I will tell you today, 18, 19 years later, that I do not have a single regret doing that.
Mhm.
Um, I like my life. I like the fact that I get to drive the bus, as I often say. So, yes, it can be scary, but you believe in yourself and in what you're doing and how you want to show up in the world, what you want to share with the world, your talents, all of that. Just there
Mhm.
is a way. So I'm not going to say fight the fear. I'm going to say feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yes, I've been there too, for sure.
Right? Yes, I know you have. But yeah, so that's kind of what my chapter is about this time around.
Awesome. So, my second question that I ask everyone, as you know, is what was your experience being part of this book or all three books and this program? Or also just the experience of writing your story and how that affects you.
So, whew, okay. So, first of all, being a part of this series for me, I think has been a really wonderful experience. I think what you've done is, aside from bringing a group of really wonderful individuals together to share their story, I think you've also given us a little bit of a gift in that I certainly am using the book a little bit like a therapy session. There are things that you have in your mind, but when you have to put things on paper in the form of a book, that, by the way, is also scary. But again, that is another place where I feel the fear and do it anyway. This particular chapter was, I was a little skittish about writing it, but I did it anyway. And also, I think um, it also helps me to a little bit get over the fear of what it is that I'm trying to do at the same time. It's very difficult to explain that to people or articulate that because you have to do it to really understand what I mean. So I encourage anybody to definitely write their story, some parts of their story. Even if you don't feel like you want to share it with the world, write it because there is some therapeutic aspect to writing. And this Scars to Stars, the Realize Foundation, the mission of, really helping people to realize, as in the Realize Foundation, to realize that they're not alone. You may have a thought about, oh my God, this is so insurmountable. You feel like you have this huge boulder on your back, but there are so many other people with challenges also, some even worse than your own challenge, and they are making it through. So these stories are there to help you to realize that you're not alone, number one, and number two, it may not be as bad as you think. It's not bad enough to decide that you want to duck out of this world because there's a lot there are talents that you have that you need to share. You don't realize they're a talent because whatever your talent is for you, it seems quite ordinary. Everybody can do this, right? No, we each come into this world with a unique talent that another person does not have. And I think we all have a responsibility to share those talents. So I think the Realize Foundation and the Scars to Stars series allows a lot of us as authors, and the fact that I'm saying authors, us and authors in the same sentence is kind of interesting because I would never have thought that I would be able to write a chapter, far less be in a book that is on the Amazon best-selling list. And I mean, there is something about that makes you feel it awakens something in you that encourages you to do it, to keep writing, because I may impact one single individual only through my writings, but that for me is worth the time and effort that I spend writing.
Yeah, we had there's someone else in book 3 who I was having a conversation with just the other day, and he talks a lot about suicide and PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
saying that, when you write the words on paper or on your computer, it's like it's like taking the pain out of your head or your brain and putting it on
Right,
paper, and then it's just words, and you don't, it doesn't have the same pain or meaning
right,
once you're doing that, because you're it's like you're
Right.
expelling it from your body when you go through the writing process. And I think that's
Yeah.
the biggest revelation that most people have
I, I
is
I would agree with that,
mhm,
because you're taking it away from you in a way. And this is interesting because now that we're talking about this, I was on a long drive. I drove to Canada and back recently, and I was reading or listening the audiobook Spare by Prince Harry, who prefers to be called Spike or Has, which I
okay.
love. And, he really is pouring his experiences into that writing. And I'd love to hear someone ask him what that was like for him, because I'm
Mhm.
almost positive that it helped him in some of his
Sure.
challenges or whatever. I mean, for me, this is an individual who is having a human experience just like anybody else, and not everybody wants him to have his human experience. But
Yeah.
yes, I do agree that writing it takes it out of your head, because we have over 75,000 conversations in our head every day, and they all don't serve us. Some of them are way too negative, some of them are limiting, some of them are, it's just
Mhm.
a whole bunch of things. So I like the idea of writing. I have to say, every time Dina says, okay, we're about to do the next iteration, I'm like, oh my God. But I have to say, I say yes every single time, because it gives me an opportunity to kind of clear the cobwebs in a way, um, by writing. So, if anybody else out there who's listening to this wondering whether they should write something about themselves that someone else may be having the same experience, and you don't know, I can probably guarantee whatever it is that you have, somebody else is experiencing that in one way, shape, or another. So I encourage you to do the same. In fact, you should probably reach out to Dina and get yourself involved in the next book. You will not regret that kind of a decision.
Well, thank you, Corrine. And I feel like I need to tell people how to do that now because if they're listening and they want to, then they need to know where to go. Um,
Absolutely.
so our website is realizefoundation.org. And on the Scars to Stars page, we have I hate I don't we call it a submission. It's not really an application. It's a submission
Right.
that you are wanting to tell your story in one of our books. And what that does is it lets me know who you are and how to contact you and how to talk to you about it. And so we do books twice a year, except for this year because we launched a podcast in place of our book in May.
Eh,
But normally we started in February, late February, for a book that comes out in May for Mental Health Awareness Month. And then we start the second one in July and it comes out in September for Suicide Prevention Month. So that is how this works with the books if anyone's interested. And I'd love to
Yay.
hear from you. Um,
Reach out.
yeah, do it.
Do it.
um, I think it's been a huge experience for me as well, just meeting all the people that have written in the books and getting to have we have weekly calls during that like 12 weeks of the project, and we really get to know each other and bond and
Yeah.
create these relationships and this support system that's amazing. And so we're excited to actually starting to do that on a bigger scale with our membership and having it for anyone to come anytime and getting together at least once a month, if not more, to have these hard conversations. Because what this is all about is, like Corrine said, like letting people know they're not alone.
Right.
Someone else has been through something similar and they
Hmm.
come out on the other side, and they tell their story about how they did that. And
Right.
so it's really important to people struggling that don't have an outlet or support to pick up one of these books and say, "Hey, I relate with this person and I have a link and I can connect with them and talk to them."
Right.
And that's where, that came from my own experience of being silent for over 2 decades about my suicide attempt. Is
Right.
like, how can we reach people without them having to ask for help?
Right.
And so that
Exactly.
is really what everything we do is about.
Yeah.
So,
So if you want to show up in the world to help another human, this may be one of the ways that you do that. And what I didn't say before that is extremely helpful if you're thinking, well, I've never written a book before. I've never written anything before. I hadn't before my first chapter. Um, there is often um, not only the editor of these books, but there is, I'm blanking on his name right now, someone who can really help you get started.
mhm,
Talking about how you structure your book, what you write, and just write, just
yeah. It's not as hard as people think, and we
yeah,
do.
it's
We
not.
guide you and hold your hand through the whole process. And
Yeah,
I think the biggest thing I've learned after 3 books is that when you start the project, when you join the project, start writing. Do not wait until a week before the deadline.
right. Yeah, because that does happen, by the way.
It does
Yeah, just
happen.
start writing, right? And it doesn't, you don't even have to form sentences when you write. Just write things down that you know that you want to share. And then you can kind of start to put it together into sentences. Now we have, having somebody kind of guide you through the process is going to help you formulate those words into
Mhm.
sentences so that you can put them into paragraphs. And then before you know it, you have a chapter.
Absolutely. And our editor, she really tells you, y'all are going to laugh at this, but she says, just vomit on the page and I'll clean it up,
Yeah,
because she's like, I
that's
don't
what she does.
care if there's punctuation. I don't care if it's the run
Yeah.
on sentence. I don't care. Like, she needs your thoughts, and then
Hmm.
she can craft it into a, a a chapter and tell you, hey, I think you need to add something here or there.
Right.
So that's the kind of feedback you get. And you really don't have to worry about making sure that you have proper sentences and punctuation and all that stuff, because we do all that for you.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it's really like just getting your story on paper and your thoughts, and then it becomes a working document, and the editor will give you some feedback and maybe ask you to add some things, or ask some questions, and then go back a time or two, back and forth a time or two, and then it's done. I mean, that's all you need to do, except submit your bio and your photo and what link you want to use, and
Right.
that's pretty much it. So, yeah, again, the website's realizefoundation.org, Scars to Stars page, and you can also find the books on Amazon, and you can also see videos on that web page of all of the authors in the first 2 books talking about their chapters. So it'll give you an idea of like what they're about and who was in it and all of that stuff. So it's a really cool project. I think it's turned into something from our very first summit with
Yes.
15 speakers telling their story. That's how this started, and it's evolved into so much more.
Yes. So
Yeah.
join the bandwagon. That's what I say.
Well, thank you, Corrine, and thanks for chatting with me today. And I
Oh,
can't wait.
no.
It's like a little over a month, and book 3 will be on the shelf.
Indeed.
So,
Pleasure's all mine, Dina. Thank you for inviting me to participate. I really appreciate that.
yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to have you. Um, so we will see. Maybe we'll see you on the book launch on
Yes,
September
absolutely.
22nd. So,
Yes, indeed.
all right, we'll see you soon.
All right. Take care. Bye.